Every single morning after 60, something happens inside your body that almost no one talks about. Yet it quietly shapes how strong, stable, and independent you feel as the day goes on. While you're asleep, fasted for 7, 8, sometimes even 10 hours, your body runs out of easy fuel and begins pulling amino acids directly out of your muscles just to keep vital systems running. This isn't fat being used for energy. It's the very muscle tissue that supports your balance, strength, and mobility. Here's the uncomfortable truth most people never hear. If you miss the first 30 minutes after waking, that muscle loss doesn't just continue. It accelerates rapidly. The habits many people rely on to feel healthy in the morning actually make it worse. Fruit-only breakfasts, a piece of toast with coffee, or worse, just coffee on an empty stomach, all keep your body stuck in breakdown mode instead of recovery. That's why today, I'm going to walk you through a surgeon-approved, step-by-step Before-8AM Muscle Protocol designed specifically for bodies over 60. No supplements you don't need. No gym. Fully plant-based options included. And before we're finished, I'll reveal the single nutrient threshold that flips your muscles from breakdown into build. But first, you need to understand exactly what your body is doing before breakfast, because knowing the why is the first step towards stopping muscle loss and reclaiming strength, balance, and independence each morning. When you go to sleep at night, your body naturally enters a fasted state. There's no incoming food, no protein arriving to repair tissue, and no glucose from meals to keep blood sugar steady. To keep you alive and functioning, your metabolism quietly switches to internal fuel sources. At first, it relies on stored glycogen, primarily from the liver. But by the early morning hours, those glycogen reserves are largely depleted. When that happens, your body still needs amino acids to maintain vital organs, stabilize blood sugar, and support basic repair. It turns to the most available reservoir it has, your muscle tissue. This process is known as overnight catabolism, and it happens to everyone. However, after the age of 60, it accelerates and becomes far more aggressive because of something called anabolic resistance. Anabolic resistance means that when you were younger, even a modest amount of protein sent aloud clears signal to your muscles to build, repair, and grow. After 60, that signal becomes muted. Your muscles don't hear protein as effectively anymore. As a result, you now need more protein, and more specifically, more leucine, to trigger muscle protein synthesis, or MPS. Leucine is the key amino acid that acts like an ignition switch. Protein is the fuel, but leucine is what actually turns the engine on. Research consistently shows that after 60, your muscles require roughly 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine in a single feeding to fully activate this muscle-building response. Anything below that threshold leaves the switch partially or completely off. This is why small, seemingly healthy breakfasts, like half a yogurt, a piece of toast, or fruit alone, feel light and easy but silently fail your muscles. Now layer in one more powerful factor: morning hormones. Cortisol naturally rises when you wake up to help you feel alert, but cortisol is also catabolic, meaning it promotes breakdown rather than building. At the same time, insulin sensitivity is shifting. When you start your day fasted, drink only coffee, and delay protein, you create a perfect storm: low glycogen, rising cortisol, no leucine signal, and continued muscle breakdown. Caffeine alone actually worsens this by further stimulating cortisol and keeping your body in a breakdown state even longer. This matters deeply because muscle is not just about looking strong. Muscle is balance. Muscle is climbing stairs. Muscle is standing up from a chair. Muscle is maintaining independence. After 60, the cost of skipping protein is no longer abstract. It shows up as weaker legs, slower walking speed, poorer balance, and a higher risk of falls. This is exactly how sarcopenia, or age-related muscle loss, quietly takes hold over time. The good news is that while sarcopenia is common, It is not inevitable. Timing matters. Dose matters. And mornings represent your biggest opportunity. Once you flip the muscle switch early in the day, your entire metabolism works in your favor. Now that you understand the why, it's time to move into the exact system that flips that switch fast. This protocol is built around 3 simple parts. Nothing fancy, nothing extreme, and nothing that requires special equipment, a gym membership, or complicated tracking. It's just a repeatable morning signal that tells your body one clear message as soon as you wake up: protect muscle. The framework is intentionally straightforward because the goal isn't motivation or willpower, it's consistency. It starts with 3 steps performed in the same order every morning. First, hydration. Second, a deliberate leucine protein spike. And third, a brief 90-second activation to tell your muscles that the incoming nutrients are needed. All 3 steps are completed within the first 30 minutes after waking, and all 3 are finished before 8 a.m. This window matters more than most people realize. Your body is naturally more responsive to anabolic, muscle-preserving signals in the morning, but only if you give it the right inputs at the right time. To keep this simple and repeatable, there are clear targets rather than vague guidelines. 16 to 20 ounces of water to rehydrate and restore circulation. 30 to 40 grams of complete protein to overcome anabolic resistance. At least 2.5 grams of leucine to flip the muscle-building switch. And just 90 seconds of gentle movement to direct those amino acids into muscle tissue instead of letting them drift elsewhere. That's it. No extras, no add-ons. There is one non-negotiable rule, though. Protein comes before, or at least alongside, caffeine. Coffee isn't the enemy, and you don't need to give it up, but coffee on an empty stomach keeps your body in a catabolic, muscle-breaking state for longer than necessary. Each morning, you'll simply choose one path that fits your life: a quick drink, an easy plate, or a plant-based combination, and stick with the same 3 steps regardless of the format. You don't rotate the protocol, you rotate the delivery. What matters most is not perfection, but repetition. This is why I recommend committing to a 7-day streak. 7 days is long enough for muscle signaling to adapt, long enough for your body to start anticipating that morning protein signal, and long enough for appetite to improve, energy to stabilize, and the routine to feel automatic rather than forced. This isn't a diet, and it's not a temporary reset. It's a muscle protection habit designed to work with your physiology after 60. Now that you understand the framework, let's break it down step by step, starting with the fastest win of all. Before protein, before coffee, before anything else enters your system, there is one simple action that sets the entire morning up for success: water. After 7 to 9 hours of sleep, your body wakes up in a mildly dehydrated state. Blood volume is slightly reduced, circulation is slower, nutrient delivery is less efficient, and even your mental alertness is dulled. You might not consciously feel these changes, but they affect how well your body responds to everything you do next. Hydration quietly fixes all of this. When you drink a full 16 to 20 ounces of water soon after waking, plasma volume begins to rise, circulation improves, and blood flow to your muscles increases. This means oxygen, glucose, and amino acids can actually reach the tissues that need them. Digestion also improves, allowing the protein you're about to consume to be broken down and absorbed more efficiently. In a very real sense, water makes protein work better, which is exactly why hydration comes first. Plain water is all you need, though if you prefer, a pinch of electrolytes or a small amount of salt can be helpful, especially if you sweat at night or take diuretics. This is entirely optional, but it can be useful for certain individuals. One rule does matter, however: drink your water before coffee. Hydration reduces caffeine jitters, softens the morning cortisol spike, and protects your stomach lining before protein digestion begins, creating a much calmer internal environment for your muscles and metabolism. The most common mistakes are surprisingly simple: taking only a few sips instead of a full dose, skipping water entirely on cold mornings, or only drinking once food is already on the plate. Your muscles don't need a symbolic glass. They need a meaningful amount. For comfort, especially if you have arthritis or joint stiffness, room temperature water is often easier to tolerate than ice cold. You also don't need to chug it all at once. Steady drinking over a few minutes is enough to achieve the benefits. Once hydration is in place, your internal delivery system is primed. Circulation is flowing, digestion is ready, and the next step in the protocol hits harder because now your body is truly prepared to use the nutrients you provide. This step is the true heart of the entire protocol, because this is where you stop muscle breakdown and actively flip your body into protection and repair mode. The rule itself is simple, but it has to be respected. You need 30 to 40 grams of complete protein and 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine in a single morning feeding. That combination is what it takes to overcome anabolic resistance after 60 and fully activate muscle protein synthesis. Anything less than that sends only a partial signal, well-intentioned, but not strong enough for aging muscle to fully respond. So breakdown continues quietly in the background. Complete protein matters because it contains all of the essential amino acids your body cannot make on its own, and most importantly, it delivers enough leucine to act as the ignition key. Protein is the fuel, but leucine is what turns the engine on and tells your muscles to shift from loss to repair. The good news is that reaching this threshold doesn't require a large meal or a complicated recipe, and there are several practical options depending on your appetite, schedule, and preferences. For the fastest route, something that can be done in 60 to 120 seconds, a whey isolate shake is the most efficient choice. Using 25 to 30 grams of whey isolate mixed with water or milk provides a highly leucine-dense, fast-digesting protein that reaches your muscles quickly, making it ideal for low-appetite mornings or days when you're short on time. Another quick and effective option is a Greek yogurt bowl made with high-protein Greek yogurt. Look for varieties that provide 15 to 20 grams of protein per serving, because 2 servings will reliably get you into the target range. And if you enjoy a bit of texture, adding a small amount of nuts or seeds can increase satiety without diluting the protein signal. Cottage cheese is another excellent fast option, whether low-fat or full-fat, and many people find it especially easy on digestion in the morning while still delivering a steady supply of amino acids. If you prefer a more traditional breakfast, an egg-based plate can work extremely well, but it needs to be built correctly. Eggs are a high-quality protein source, but 2 eggs alone provide only about 12 grams of protein, which falls far short of what aging muscle requires. To make eggs effective in this protocol, you need to add another protein source, such as cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, or an additional egg. A reliable guideline is to aim for 3 eggs paired with a protein side, or 2 eggs combined with a generous serving of dairy, so that the total protein and leucine content are high enough to fully flip the muscle-building switch rather than just nudging it. A fully plant-based path is absolutely possible, but it does require more intentional pairing. The most reliable options include firm tofu scrambles, soy yogurt, and pea or soy protein shakes, because pea and soy are among the most leucine-rich plant proteins available. A tofu scramble by itself is often not enough to reach the leucine threshold, so pairing it with soy yogurt or a plant-based protein shake is key to making the signal strong enough for muscle preservation. Flavor and tolerance matter, because the best protein choice is the one you can repeat every day without discomfort. If lactose is an issue, lactose-free dairy or plant-based proteins work well. If reflux is a concern, low-acid options are often easier to tolerate. And for blood glucose stability, especially for those managing diabetes, unsweetened yogurts, plain protein powders, and avoiding fruit-heavy blends help keep sugar spikes under control. Just as important as what to include is what to avoid. Fruit-only breakfasts, toast or cereal by themselves, coffee without protein, and oatmeal without added protein all keep you below the leucine threshold, meaning the muscle-building switch never fully turns on. To make this step effortless, preparation is everything. Pre-measuring protein scoops, keeping high-protein staples visible in the fridge, and setting up a simple 2-minute blender routine remove friction and decision fatigue, making consistency far more likely. Protein tells your body what to build. In the next step, you'll give it the movement signal that tells it exactly where to build it. This step is not about exercise in the traditional sense, and it's important to understand that distinction because the goal here isn't to get tired, sweaty, or sore. It's to send a clear biological signal. Muscle responds best to protein when it knows that muscle tissue is actually needed, and movement is the language your body understands. Without that signal, some of the amino acids you just consumed may be used for other purposes, but with even a brief bout of targeted movement, your body is told, very clearly, that strength and stability matter right now. That's why this step is short, simple, and intentional. The core movement is as basic and functional as it gets, the sit-to-stand. You're simply standing up from a chair and sitting back down using your own body weight. This works so well because it activates the largest muscle groups in the body, your thighs, hips, and glutes, while also challenging balance and coordination, and most importantly, it directly mirrors a movement you perform dozens of times a day. Getting out of a chair isn't just an exercise. It's a measure of independence and training that pattern reinforces the variability you're trying to preserve. In the standard version, you'll perform 10 to 15 controlled repetitions with your feet about hip-width apart, your posture tall, and your knees tracking naturally over your toes as you stand and sit. The focus is on control rather than speed, moving smoothly through the range of motion and staying aware of how your body feels. If you have arthritis or joint stiffness, the movement can be easily modified by using a higher chair, lightly supporting yourself with your arms, slowing the tempo, or working through a partial range of motion that feels comfortable. These adjustments don't weaken the signal. They simply make it sustainable. If balance is a concern, performing the movement near a wall or countertop provides extra security, and alternating sit-to-stands with gentle heel raises can still deliver an effective muscle signal without unnecessary risk. For those who are unable to perform sit-to-stands comfortably, an upper body option works just as well in terms of signaling. Wall push-ups, standing a few feet from a wall and pushing your body away. Activate the chest, shoulders, and arms, and performing 10 to 15 controlled repetitions is enough to tell your body that those incoming amino acids are needed for muscle repair. Throughout any version, breathing matters. Exhale gently on the effort, stop before pain, and aim for a feeling of mild warmth or activation rather than fatigue or strain. After about a week, once the movement feels familiar, you can slightly increase the challenge by adding a second set or slowing the tempo. But even without progression, the signal is already effective. At this point, you've completed the full sequence: hydration to prime the system, protein to supply the building blocks, and movement to direct them into muscle tissue. The signal has been sent. Now it's time to clear away the common morning myths that sabotage this process before it ever has a chance to work. There are a handful of well-meaning morning habits that seem healthy on the surface but quietly work against your muscles, especially after 60. And unless these myths are cleared out, even the best intentions can lead to what I call muscle melt. The first and most common myth is the idea that fasted mornings burn more fat. While this approach may have some context for younger bodies, after 60 the physiology is different. Overnight fasting combined with rising morning cortisol shifts your body toward breaking down muscle tissue for fuel, not preserving it. So skipping protein in the morning doesn't protect fat loss, it accelerates muscle loss. The second myth is that a fruit-only breakfast is light, clean, and healthy. In reality, Fruit on its own contains very little protein and virtually no leucine, while delivering a rapid glucose load that spikes insulin, wears off quickly, and leaves you hungrier within an hour, all while your muscles receive no meaningful signal to repair or rebuild. Closely related is the third myth, that toast and coffee are enough to get the day started. Toast, cereal, and coffee may feel comforting and familiar, but they deliver almost zero leucine and no meaningful protein, which means your body remains in a catabolic state long after you've woken up, and the muscle breakdown that started overnight simply continues. Another common belief is, "I'll eat protein later," as if the timing doesn't matter as long as total intake adds up by the end of the day. The truth is that muscle protein synthesis works in windows, and the morning is one of the most powerful windows you have. Missing it reduces the total number of muscle-building opportunities your body gets in a day, even if you eat plenty of protein later on. After 60, timing and dose matter just as much as total intake, and delaying protein means you never fully recover the opportunity you skipped. The fifth myth is more subtle but just as damaging. "I don't have much of an appetite in the morning, so I'll skip it." Low appetite is common with age, but it doesn't change muscle biology, and it doesn't mean your muscles don't need protein. It simply means you need easier formats. Shakes, high-protein yogurt, and soft, low-volume food solve this problem without forcing a large meal or causing discomfort. This is where the reframe matters. Morning protein isn't about eating a big breakfast or following rigid rules, and it's not indulgent or excessive. It's medicine for muscle. It's a targeted dose delivered at the right time to counteract overnight breakdown and set the tone for the entire day. It's not optional if strength, balance, and independence matter to you, and it doesn't require perfection, only consistency. Once you let go of these myths and see the morning protein spike for what it truly is, a protective signal rather than a dietary choice, it becomes much easier to commit to the habit. And now that the misunderstandings are out of the way, the next step is making this protocol stick in real life, day after day. To turn this from information into real, lasting change, the simplest and most effective approach is a short, focused reset called the 7-Day Morning Muscle Challenge. For the next 7 days, the goal is not perfection, variety, or intensity, it's repetition. Every morning, before 8 a.m., you complete the same 3 actions in the same order. Your full water dose to rehydrate and prime the system, your protein target to flip the muscle preservation switch, and your 90-second activation to tell your body where that protein is needed. That's it. No extras, no adjustments, no second-guessing. A simple checklist, whether it's printed, on your phone, or mentally noted, helps remove decision fatigue and keeps the focus on consistency rather than motivation. Each morning, you choose a lane that fits your appetite and schedule: a shake, a yogurt or cottage cheese option, or an egg or tofu plate. You're free to rotate these formats throughout the week to keep things enjoyable, but the structure never changes. If your appetite is low on certain mornings, that's not a reason to skip the protocol. Simply split the shake into 2 smaller portions taken a few minutes apart, which often feels far more manageable. If you're traveling, the challenge becomes even more valuable. Protein powder packs easily, and high-protein yogurt or cottage cheese can be found almost anywhere, making it possible to maintain the signal even outside your normal routine. What makes this 7-day window powerful is how quickly your body adapts. By the end of the week, most people notice subtle but meaningful shifts. Energy feels steadier through the morning, balance feels more reliable when moving around the house, and everyday tasks like climbing stairs or standing up from a chair feel slightly easier and more controlled. These changes aren't dramatic or flashy, but they're signs that muscle signaling is improving and breakdown is being interrupted earlier in the day. The challenge isn't about proving discipline. It's about letting your body experience what happens when it receives the right inputs at the right time, consistently. And now that you understand the structure, The next step is simple. Let's lock in your exact plan for tomorrow morning. Here's how to turn everything you've learned into a personal, plug-and-play morning plan that's simple, repeatable, and completely doable. Start by setting your wake time and creating a 30-minute window in which you will complete all 3 steps: hydration, protein, and activation. This window is non-negotiable because mornings are when your body is most responsive to anabolic signals, and giving yourself a defined time frame ensures consistency without stress or decision fatigue. You can choose one of 3 ready-made templates depending on your preferences, appetite, and lifestyle. Template A: shake first. Start with your water dose, followed immediately by a protein shake. Then complete your 90-second chair stand activation and finish with coffee. This is fast, efficient, and ideal for mornings when you need a minimal prep option that still hits your protein and leucine targets. Template B: dairy first. Begin with water, then enjoy a high-protein yogurt or cottage cheese serving, followed by wall push-ups for 90 seconds, and finish with tea if you prefer. This version works well for people who enjoy a slightly slower-paced morning and prefer whole food protein. Template C: egg or tofu plate. Start with your water, then move to a protein-rich plate, 3 eggs or a firm tofu scramble, optionally paired with dairy, followed by heel raises or sit-to-stand movements for 90 seconds, and finish with coffee. This template is satisfying and versatile, especially for those who enjoy a more traditional breakfast but still want maximum muscle benefit. Protein math is simple: 25 to 30 grams for a whey shake, 2 servings of Greek yogurt, or 3 eggs paired with a protein side all reach your target of 30 to 40 grams of protein and 2.5 to 3 grams of leucine. These numbers are key. They aren't arbitrary. They ensure you fully overcome anabolic resistance and maximize the muscle protection signal. If you take medications in the morning, be sure to follow your clinician's guidance on spacing them relative to protein intake, so nothing interferes with absorption or efficacy. The weekly prep system is just as important as the morning routine itself. Shop once a week for your high-protein staples, pre-measure protein scoops, and create a 2-minute morning station where everything is ready to go. Having a streamlined setup reduces friction, makes the habit automatic, and keeps your mornings calm and efficient. The goal here is simplicity, not perfection. When everything is ready, consistency comes naturally, and muscle protection becomes effortless. Here's the bottom line. Morning protein plus a 90-second movement signal protects your muscle, stabilizes your energy, and sets the tone for the rest of the day. The protocol is simple, flexible, and adaptable to any lifestyle. To get started, download the checklist, commit to the 7-day challenge, and comment below with your Day 1 plan so you hold yourself accountable. For full follow-along support, subscribe to the channel and be sure to watch the linked evening muscle repair video next. Because protecting and rebuilding muscle isn't just a morning activity. It's a full-day process that keeps you strong, independent, and energized as you age.